Happy days and welcome to this week's Extreme Set Mind series, of course, with the man from Ireland, Lee Tunnyware, the man of all minds and the minds can be. And this week, every week we have a great talk, but this one I think is one of the most camouflage ones that I want to talk about because there are so many layers involved in this word. Now, we have touched on this in the past, but I want to go into more of its kind of, I'm going to say it's 3 ingredient layers, which is emotional, physical, and mental, which is what does your let me say that again, put my teeth back in, even though they're all mine. What does your procrastinating toolbox look like? Emotional, physical, and mental, or all of the above? Now, this is a big one because here's the thing. I'd say this, before you run a business, you should really go for a couple of years of counseling. And I mean, not the type of counseling that you go, a type of counseling where you really get to understand yourself. Now, the best place for that, of course, is the subconscious code breaker with the man in front of me. Now, that is a level of self-find you will never experience. So, subconscious code breaker, everybody should go through before they even start business. Here we go. What does the procrastinating toolbox look like? Mine was pity. Mine was pity. No longer. But I'm going to say 18 years of my business, I used what they call, which is imposter syndrome. But actually, it's just pity. That's gone. Let's jump into that, Lee.
Yeah, I wouldn't call pity part of the procrastinator's toolkit, mate. And I wouldn't put mental into the procrastinator's toolkit. But I'll tell you why, because pity is a consequence, as in it's an action we do.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I might have to translate that a little bit further so it's heard the right way. But go back to the mental side. So, and bear in mind, as the boss or the person, so putting things off that other people have asked you to do, it might be because they're overloading you. So so we're talking about the individual choosing the tasks in a business and procrastinating there. You giving me the task and me not doing it is it's not in the same.
Oh, wow.
You have to separate, see. Procrastination is when I choose to do, or I have stuff I know I need to do or want to do, and I don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You giving me instructions and like I'm an employee, say, and you'll give me instructions and I don't do it, isn't procrastination. That's not following instructions.
Oh. Wow.
Now, I've got an excuse in it and reason it, but now if you've overloaded me and you've asked me to know I ain't got enough hours in the day, that's one part. However, if I speak up for myself and say, well, Paul, I've got this to do, this to do, this to do, this to do, this to do. Now you're asking me to do this, this, and this. Which ones are the most important to you? Which tasks do you want done first?
Yeah.
Because an employee, and this we're not in the procrastination bit, come back there, an employee that's given instructions, that's down to the person that's delegated. If they haven't delegated in a priority order, task 1 first, task 2, task 3, task 4. What a lot of employers do or delegators do is give instructions, but they don't give the order and sequence of instructions, which means the person would choose the easiest, the one they know, the easiest for them, not necessarily the easiest task. Wherever their skill set, whatever they're most comfortable with, they would choose that. A good leader will choose the hardest first. However, if there's a sequence and like you're within a team, like a bit like a football team or a rugby team, there's always an order to how things should be done, a bit like rugby. Yeah, you have to be in a certain place and everybody needs to know where you are. So in a business, the instructions, if it's run properly, will be given in an order and they're never given in an I delegation. Communication. They're given in a we. Because they understand Paul's on this task, Mary's on that task, Ross on that task. Paul will be finished his in 2 hours. Yeah. Mary's going to be finished hers in about 1 hour and 45 minutes. When you're finished, Mary, if you give Paul a hand, to finish up because we're all starting on task B at 2 o'clock. And Ros, how long for? Ros is going to be an hour after you and Mary have finished, Paul, and she's going to join up with you then, because the task can take a bit longer. But the point I'm trying to make is, when you're given instructions by somebody and you don't do it, that ain't procrastination. That's either avoidance, that's either ignorance, or normally this is one, it's the ego. Well, I think he's wrong, so I'm not going to bother doing it.
Wow.
He's the manager. No, that's ego. So those don't fall into. Now, procrastination to me is in the person that's in charge of their tasks. Yeah, so it's not somebody that's given tasks, it's somebody that's in charge, and they're deciding the order and what they've got to do. In the employer, the boss type mindset, the entrepreneur, let's say, they know what's got to be done, but they're not doing it.
Okay.
Right. So in that case, do any action is always from biology. You can't do something without your body.
Wow. I see that.
Right. So procrastination to me is a conflict between left brain, consciousness and decisions and strategy, and biology. So normally, if I bring that down to its brass tacks, kiddie talk, it's a conflict between mind and body. The feeling and the biology doesn't want to do it, and the thoughts, and the assessment and the psychology wants to do it. So the mind knows what it's got to be done and what it's got to be done, how important it is, time it should be done by. Yeah. But the biology won't get into sync. That's normally because of like the autonomic sympathetic nervous system. So there's, in a sense, so fight, flight, freeze comes from the reptilian brain at the top of the spine. That runs all your sympathetic autonomic nervous system, your breathing, everything like that. So fight means you fight, as in you'll defend. So it's supposedly come from when we evolved. If a lion was coming at us, we would fight, or somebody was going to attack us, we'd fight. That's one, not choice, it's instinct in us.
Yeah.
Fight or flee. So now we're going to fight the lion, or we're going to run from the lion, or we're going to freeze. Freeze would mean camouflage, not say nothing, not do nothing, to hope that we're not seen.
Yeah.
So logically, when we're in procrastination and the biology won't kick in and do, make the phone call, whatever, is the fight bit isn't engaged. It's most likely the freeze bit or the run bit, which means in the mind, we've got the warrior mindset, the willpower, but we haven't got the adventure part of the entrepreneur kicked in, because the adventure part's in the fight part.
Wow. I so get that.
Right. The other part of it is that what happens sometimes is some entrepreneurs, they don't plan things out very well. They're very, very much, this is because of this fight part, they're very much triggered into action by pressure. So when it has to be done, the procrastinator will do it. When it has to be done, I'll always do it, but up till then, so they leave it to last minute. They think they haven't chosen to leave it to last minute because they haven't avoided all the stress and all the worry and all the concern and all the negative stomping and slamming doors. They haven't avoided it. And then when it counts, I'll get into action. That's the adventure part of you being. So that's the fight part of you kicking in. So to get past it, I don't know whether we want to discuss it, we want to find a tool. To get past it is to move the timeline. That's all you have to do. What happens in the entrepreneur, what triggers you to go from inaction to action, and bear in mind as well, the entrepreneur then, when they get into action, this is where it all starts to compound, because they've left it the last minute. They haven't got the adequate time most times to do it. It's when the pressure is piling up. So what they do then is they do, but the quality is reduced.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they keep running that cycle, they can never have a successful business. And then what happens is that then they go into the imposter and the pity part.
Wow,
So,
Lee, this
so it
it's
starts
like,
to lead out.
wow, it's like a lot of that pattern is what I played out. I know I did. And I can see now the trueness to what, procrastination is. It makes so much sense here. And I'm going to say that it is, I think for many entrepreneurs, the majority of entrepreneurs, the discipline to staying out of procrastination and being, efficient, organized, to enjoy the adventure part.
But when you go into a manager role or an employer role, manager not so much, but it does apply because they're trained in it. A good boss, as in an employer that's actually in the business, bear in mind a good boss, I'm not about a bad boss, already knows the feelings and has to get past them themselves in the early days on a daily basis. And then they develop the strategy and the conscious awareness. They already know how their body or their imagination is going to react to what they've got to do, what they know it's got to be done. So they can't have them feelings governing their communication. On top of that, they can't have their feelings keeping them in the I way of thinking.
Yeah.
They have to go into the we way of thinking. You'll see me in a lot of groups. You've seen it, Paul. I hold them in that energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm talking to leaders. If I was talking to employees or I was talking to like people that were like partners, I would have a different tonality. Yeah. I'm talking to leaders. So I would talk to leaders to the ability that they have to be that leader. If I'm talking to an employee, then I'll give the list of tasks out because I already know they've got feelings inside that's going to get in the way of them, which means it's going to get in the way of me. So that's where recognition comes in. Mm-hmm. That's where, like in a sense, good, clean communication, because you can't have a competitive mindset within within the employees. You can't compete employees. A lot of people do it in the sales world, but you'll burn them out that way. What you've got to do is go into pride. And a lot of people want to motivate their employees. Motor comes from your biology, your drive. The motor means they want action, they want do, whether that's communication or whether that's physical, as in action. Yeah. So, and it's even harder when you go into construction or building. Yeah. And in a lot of the early days, I've done a lot in that area to keep men or people on the building site, but mostly it was men. Yeah. And bear in mind, these are blokes that you wouldn't, these are blokes who are on the tools all day. They're blokes that can fight. They're people that, yeah. So to be able to keep them motivated and driven, it's not a shouting and raving type thing. You hold quality high. They need somebody who's strong, that they know that you can give as good as they will get as good as they give.
Yeah, yeah.
So in other words, if they give you a bad attitude, they know that, you've got to be somebody they don't want to mess with. So respect is part of it both ways. But to be able to motivate people that are working all day, when their arms start to hurt and the neck starts to hurt and the backs of the legs start to hurt and the shins start to hurt, and you still got to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
It's a totally different skill set than when somebody is in the emotion of the task. Because builders don't go in the emotion of the task. They're within the physical energy of the task.
Yeah.
When you start to get into office work, and office communication, the communications, you can't take the same, even though on a building site works, and you can work 100 guys with this, and you have good communication, you hold them on quality, so the recognition is, when Dave, like you might say in front of the lads, there's walking in, Dave, number 26 is, and number 26, the house of work, brilliant job on that kitchen, mate. And you say that across the yard. Thanks, Lee. But you couldn't say it if it wasn't true. Can't say it just to be nice. It's not like one of them on a building site. You don't get no medals for coming in last. Yeah. And you don't get no medals if your quality's down. It's not. And you wouldn't have anyone on the site that couldn't hold their own. Everybody works together, and everybody's task is linked in. You've got the plumber, the electrician, the plasterer, the carpenter, everything, the carpet fitters, the decorators, whatever. They're all going in a sequence. And if one doesn't do their task, they're affecting the whole building job. So you know within a day or so, that carpenter's no good. You give them a couple of days to get their feet in. And if on the second day, literally, right, Brian, Brian, it's not going to work. And you have to gone, because one person can affect so many. But when you go into an office environment and you're down to presentations and Excel spreadsheets and different things like that, not saying it works hard work, but it's mental work. It's systems and processes. Same strategy applies. If they don't do their job, it can have a knock-on effect. But what can happen is, because you're not in the physical any of these tasks, you can't. The fight, flight, freeze doesn't apply. You're into the emotional energy, not the physical energy. So people get very catty, men and female, very catty. He hurt my feelings. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason their feelings are hurt so quickly is because there's no physical energy to protect them.
Wow.
There's no physical do, as in, I'm not saying Excel isn't doing, but graphic design, I'm not saying that. But the energy when you're pushing your body, grit and resilience, comes from the physical energy overcoming the feelings of pain, discomfort. Willpower is overcoming the like what it's using your mind to overcome the emotional feelings or the lack of pride feelings. It's a grit, warrior mindset, drive, is all part of the physical energy. All the recognition part, as in feeling good and all that, is part of the emotional energy. The pride and passion is part of the spirit energy. Systems, processes, and being able to think and hold a thought is part of will. That's to be in charge of the feeling. So the heads-up computer. So if your imagination runs off and you're imagining all sorts of things in drama, you ain't good at controlling your heads-up computer. If you're overthinking it, you're in the imposter. That's the consciousness, which means your heads-up computer ain't serving it. The thoughts and the imagination is for two things: to keep you going on the navigation you want, where you want to go, not where life or society says you can go. And when other feelings trigger you, whatever the environment from the work you're doing, if their feelings get triggered, you've got to have the awareness and the ability to communicate past their feelings or their thoughts, because they go, well, I think this. Well, brilliant. Work ain't a democracy, but you can't say that to them. I think this. Then the answer to that is, thank you, John. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, John. I've been running a few ideas from my mind, and what I see is this: thank you for sharing. You're like basically your thoughts or what you see. Thank you. But for the minute, what we're going to do is stay on this, because too many people want to give you ideas. Ideas ain't got no real life on them. So back to the last bit to sum up with the Procrastinator's Toolkit. The Procrastinator's Toolkit is conflict between what you think and your biology. Now, it could be what you think going through the imagination, because you're thinking something that's triggering images or video in your mind. That then triggers the emotion. That then puts you into fear with this biology, and then the biology stops you. There's a combination.
That journey.
Quickest way to hack it is you stay in pride. Spirit will always override biology.
Oh, wow.
I'll prove it to you. Uncle Sam, we want you. Everybody would have gone to put their life on the line because of pride. So you call somebody a name like Yeller or Coward, you watch, and then when they create that culture, everybody will sign up. When the draft comes out, they're gone. And that's because the protector, the warrior's there. But anyone that's in two minds, they're not in two minds. They're in a mind and then a feeling. And if the feeling is stronger than mind, the decision won't be made. If the mind's stronger than feeling, the decision will be made. Decisions are made in mind, and feelings are in biology or spirit or emotion.
There it is. The procrastinating toolbox. Lee, I mean, how you dissected that into its truer sense, I tell you what, has made more sense to me than ever. I had the word procrastination in the wrong place. And I think the majority of people do until they listen to this, until they watch this. This is beautiful. And that's why, let me say.
One last bit on it.
Go on, go for it.
You have to distinguish, have to sounds like instruction, but if you really want clarity on it, yeah, there's three worlds. Yeah, there's from your skin in, that's your world. There's from their skin in, that's their world. The gap between the skins is what we deem and refer to as the real world.
Wow.
Where action and stimulus, action can be witnessed, and where stimulus is made. So you have to be aware of those three worlds, and you have to be aware of three timelines: future, past, and present. Drama, yeah, is in the past. Drama, and karma is in the past. Regret, remorse, yeah, guilt, yeah, it's present to past. If you're in fear, doubt, or insecurity, that's present to future. So, yeah, if you some people say, I've got a fear of failure. That's your future self, not trusting your present self enough.
Wow. There it is. And this is why they call this man the subconscious code breaker. Find him on LinkedIn. You will find Lee there, because I tell you what, if you're ready to take yourself to a place of unimaginable understanding, this man, subconscious code breaker, Lee Tunnyware, do find him. The link will be here for his profile on LinkedIn below this video. Every week is going to be there from now on, because you need to connect with this man. Happy days. Lee Tunnyware, thank you so much, and I will catch you next week, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.
Happy days. Bye for now.